So I want to get you guys maybe to share this guy here.
Okay.
Just kind of hold it close.
Okay.
So let's just start off with, on a scale of 1 to 100, how certain are you that your belief is correct?
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. And does that imply that there's no evidence that could come forward that would shake your belief?
Yeah, I believe it. Jesus says, in the Gospel of John, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And as much as he says that, that's how much I believe that that's true.
Okay.
So he is the only way.
And so, on a scale of like 1 to 100, how much of your belief would you say is derived from evidence, or derived from like faith, or derived from circumstance? Like you said, you're born into it.
Yeah, I can speak for myself. I was born and raised Catholic, cradle Catholic. I don't know how intense or informed my parents were. I kind of fell away from the church in college, and then by the grace of God, someone kind of pointed me to. I first had an emotional encounter with Jesus Christ as a person,
Okay.
and then someone pointed me to evidence that then to me is inarguably true.
And
Yeah, I would say the same, being born and raised in a Catholic home. It was what was, just was like true in our home. But then I also encountered the person of Jesus Christ in college. And then it was through like encountering him and then actually seeking answers to my questions. I found that, there was a lot of evidence for a lot of the why questions that I had in life. And I found that in Christ and then in the Catholic Church.
so, like, if I can sort of repeat back what I'm hearing and tell me if it's accurate, you guys you were. It was the first thing you knew of a faith belief was Roman Catholicism.
Correct.
And then, you went through the early parts of your life and through high school and whatnot, and then maybe kind of had some doubts a little bit, and then came back to it. And you said that you had an experience,
Correct.
but then it sounded like you said you weren't exactly sure that it was derived from like a Roman Catholicism, but then somebody else, not a family member, but sort of pointed you back in that direction.
Correct. Yeah,
and we both had people really accompany us in us seeking what is truth, and what is the fullness of truth, and how are we called to live. So
do you think? Where do you think you would be if, say, you had been born into a family that was Hindu or Muslim and raised in that faith belief from the first thing you can remember, and then fell away, and then had an experience? Do you think you would have perceived it as Jesus coming to you, or maybe Muhammad, or Vishnu or something?
Yeah, I've wrestled with this question quite a bit, and I do think it's hard to displace yourself out of time and space.
Sure.
But I do believe that I would hope that I would be a truth seeker. That would be my hope, is that I'm trying to seek truth wherever I'm at. And I believe that that's where I am. But I guess that's my answer.
And you wouldn't even have to stray to something like Islam or Hinduism, Buddhism, what have you. I mean, you could have been born in a Baptist family, and there's almost infinite possibilities. But it seems sort of perhaps it's an incredible coincidence. It seems that you were born into this, lived it through most of your life, and then you had this, I don't know if you would describe it as sort of a spiritual revelation or awakening or something, and that it just so happened that it was
the same
belief you were raised in.
And that's something we talk a lot about, is nature builds on nurture. Like, so yeah, so it's like it is because we were born into a faith that we're comfortable with, that it would make a lot of sense that we'd find then comfort. Because I strayed away in college. I stopped going to mass. It really did just go full college experience,
Right.
you know.
I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
people
yeah.
experience that.
Yeah, and I just found myself really empty, and then I found myself back to the place where I found sense or purpose.
Mhm.
So
And so, what do you make of, there are millions of people in other religions who have very similar experiences, and it's a tiny percentage of people who, have that experience and then decide that, that revelation was manifest from a completely different religion,
yeah,
right? So, I mean, what like if some other couple were here and they were Islamic or what have you, and they said how would I, as somebody who's neutral, say hypothetically, like determine which one was true?
yeah. Well, I guess that's a multi-layered question.
Yes.
So, I mean, first, I would say that God is outside of time and space. He's outside. He's outside of a religion. There are religions a religion that points more clearly to Him as Father, Creator, Sanctifier. So, yeah. So I would say, like, I would not doubt a spiritual experience ever. Like,
Of somebody else, you mean?
no, not at all. I mean, I have similar experiences to someone maybe like, overwhelmed by the beauty and the peace here that maybe an agnostic or an atheist that would feel. But I will attribute that to God, because I think all steps, all matter point to Him and knowing Him. So maybe I have the vocabulary or the experience that would be able to paint the picture, whereas I think some other person similarly just might have a different vocabulary. So pointing then to the truth, how would you then distinguish the truth? Then I would say beyond the experience itself is evidence, like on the basis of history, or history. People, our forefathers, people who have gone before us who've experienced life.
What about you, Natalie?
Yeah. I'm wrestling with that. I'm trying to think how to form my thoughts, but I would similarly agree on that. Yeah, that a lot of religions have a lot of truth in them. Just that within the Catholic Church is like the fullness of truth. And so, yeah, someone who is Muslim worshiping Allah, I would not doubt kind of what John was saying, that they have had a spiritual experience or an experience with God that is probably very real, and in a lot of ways probably very personal to them, just as John and I experienced a personal encounter. But I would then also then go back to, like, okay, if both parties have had like spiritual experiences, I would then also look at, like, okay, what religion or maybe what truth has like the fullness of doctrine, which makes sense, I guess, of like our existence and our purpose and like why we are here, and which I think would then lead back to the Catholic Church.
So would it be your position? You're saying you wouldn't doubt? Both of you, I think, said more or less along the lines you wouldn't doubt the other person's experience.
Correct.
But was it fair to say you would think they were incorrect? Like, are you saying you wouldn't doubt them publicly?
No. I would, if I were to, if you were describing your experience, I would give validation to the experience. But then, I guess I would challenge you then to what is that experience translating, and to whom, and for what? Because I don't think, if our life is for ourself, and if like an experience is for me and my own experience for my experience sake, it's just kind of a lonely existence. And I think those questions can be answered in the Roman Catholic Church.
As true as that is in your experience, I know that there are people of other faiths who believe with just as much conviction
Totally.
as you guys do.
Totally.
And it would seem that both things can't be true at the same time.
Sure.
So does that? I'm trying to reconcile how you can say you don't have doubt in terms of their belief, but that you are 100% convicted of your beliefs.
Yeah. Real quick, I do appreciate this. You're incredibly non-threatening, and this is an awesome experience.
Good.
But
Glad to hear it.
I understand why that's
Contradictory. Or sounds contradictory.
Yeah, because it's so. God, he's the ipsum esse, the I am. So it's like every moment of every day, like in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, it says every moment of every day, God is trying to connect with humanity. So now, if my context, like you pointed out, born and raised cradle Catholic, that's my context.
Right.
Now, someone who's generational atheist has a,
You haven't been here long, but you're getting the vibe.
I can look at that and let's say I'm in their friend group and they're like, I had this crazy experience when I was tripping on drugs and I was hiking whatever Snake Ridge and I had experienced this higher power, I would, in my context, say that's God kind of probing the heart.
The Trinitarian God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, trying to break through to that person.
Because it's incremental experiences that lead to someone's conversion, right? Like, and again, it's because two people hold things to be true that this conversation is worth having. It's like if there was just one absolute truth.
Do you not think there's one absolute truth?
No, there is. But if everybody believed in the one absolute truth, that I, without trying to sound arrogant, believe there is one, well then there wouldn't be this discussion. So it's like, in and itself, the question it's contradictory, but it's like, I'm not making a whole lot of sense, but in my head I am. It's moving towards a truth despite the fact that others will hold other truths, It's like our political party, right? Like we could both look at an instance of a person getting shot and we could both have completely different opinions on it.
Right.
Despite whatever the facts, whatever opinion, whatever context you're going to put it in,
Yeah. With using that example, it would seem as though it is amazing to me, looking at things like that in sort of the modern context of what we're all dealing with right now, how people can look at the exact same thing and come to completely different conclusions, and it would seem that as though there's there's certainly a disparity in facts that people possess, but I don't think that's the full explanation for it.
Yeah.
There's a comfort that people find in the ideology that they possess, and they don't want that comfort disturbed.
Right.
And so that guides them to overlook or not accept evidence.
Yeah.
But it would seem as though, independent of that, there is a truth, right? Like there is a correct way of looking at it and an incorrect way of looking at it. It isn't the case that that everybody's own personal truth is as valid as everybody else's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would seem to be the same with like religious beliefs.
See, I have Protestant brothers and sisters who live a very joyful, happy life, and I would never say I would never say someone's outright wrong, because there are truths that are leading them to that joy. I would just say hey, let's move a few degrees here, and then there's more sense to it, and without delving into too much Catholic theology, like the ways that a Roman Catholic looks at virtue, which is like something I think most people have no clue what the hell that means. That would benefit a culture. How the Catholic Church looks at social teachings are incredible, whether you agree with them or not, are incredibly fruitful for the propagation of humanity.
Right.
You know, so it's like there's
I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, there's just like all these different components that I think then are missing in other religions. You know, that maybe has one spoke not fully connected to the wheel. You know.
Do you see? And Natalie, maybe you can chime in here.
No,
I appreciate what you're saying about the the way the religion leads people perhaps to like a more unified culture, society, and productivity, if you will. Do you also see those same virtues reflected in other Abrahamic traditions, Judaism and Islam, in terms of the relationship between God, man, woman, child, things of that nature, maybe, or any other facet that you'd like to talk about?
Well, absolutely. Especially, I mean, we were just talking about this the other day, like the New Testament, right? The Gospels, where just the account of Jesus' life, and then all the New Testament letters do not make sense without the Old Testament. And the Old Testament is the story of creation all the way up to the time of Jesus, and it is the story of